When did the Second World War start? All of you know that it started on September 1st, 1939, from the invasion of Poland. But what if I tell you that many people think that the Second World War started in 1941?
Вторая мировая война из-за того, что Германия напала на Советский Союз. Они напали, мы защищались и в конце концов их победили.
Когда это было?
С 41 по 45 год.
And that would be a topic of today's video. We will discuss how war propaganda justifies the invasion of other countries and how this propaganda stays in the minds of people many years later, even after generation change. Please support our project by sharing this video to others, liking this video and leaving comments.
Когда началась Вторая мировая война?
В 41-м.
Да вы что?
Да.
Не в 39-м?
Нет.
Не в сентябре 39-го?
Нет.
Не с раздела Польши?
Нет.
This is an interview with a pro-Russian Ukrainian politician in 2014. This politician refused to agree that the Second World War started in 1939. Later he supported the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And this is not simply ignorance and illiteracy. This is a result of the systematic Soviet propaganda. The USSR officially stated everywhere that the Second World War lasted from 1941 till 1945. 1941 was taken on purpose. This changes all the focus of the Second World War to the fact of the German invasion of the USSR. Everything that was before doesn't exist in the history. I will quote the Soviet propaganda poem written in June 1941. Concentrating the troops against us, the enemy attacked a peaceful country. On the white night, the whitest night, they started this black war. Many children in the Soviet Union learned this poem by heart, and even now some children in Russia learn it. The poem states that Soviet Union is a peaceful country, like nobody invaded Poland and Finland in 1939, like nobody invaded Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania in 1940.
Люди русские никогда не хотят войны, никогда. И никогда ни на кого не нападают.
The peaceful country invaded other countries because it was necessary to do so. This wasn't aggression, there was no other possible way. This vision of the invasion was used by both German and Soviet propaganda in 1939, and I have to admit that nothing has changed in the modern Russian war propaganda during the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. It's all the same.
Несмотря ни на что, в декабре 2021 года мы все-таки в очередной раз предприняли попытку договориться с США и их союзниками о принципах обеспечения безопасности в Европе и о нерасширении НАТО. Все тщетно. Продолжать просто наблюдать за тем, что происходит, мы больше не можем. Это было бы с нашей стороны абсолютно безответственно. Весь ход развития событий и анализ поступающей информации показывает, что столкновение России с этими силами неизбежно. Это только вопрос времени. Нам с вами просто не оставили ни одной другой возможности защитить Россию, наших людей, кроме той, которую мы вынуждены будем использовать сегодня.
Of course, it was important to change the focus of the invasion from expansionism to save the people. For instance, the USSR names the reason of the invasion of Poland. The government of the USSR and the German government, after the collapse of the former Polish state, consider it exclusively as their task to restore peace and order in this territory and ensure a peaceful existence for the people living there. And it's very similar to the reason for the invasion of Ukraine.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам, геноциду со стороны киевского режима.
By the way, the Soviet quote that I mentioned before is from the German-Soviet Treaty of Friendship. The USSR, together with Nazi Germany, divided Poland in 1939, and of course Germany was at that time a friend as it helped to gain new lands and spheres of influence, which was very important for Soviets with their imperialistic view of the world. The list of German-Soviet military parades took place in Brest-Litovsk, Grodno, Pinsk and several other cities, and they were called victory parades. A victory against whom? As soon as Germany invaded the USSR, Germany suddenly became such an evil that it was important to remove any notices of the past cooperation of the USSR in Nazi Germany. It was important to say that Nazi Germany and the USSR were never friends and were never allies. So many pre-war documents were classified as secret. All facts of German-Soviet military parades also became secret. That's why 1939 has never appeared in the Soviet books and historical studies at the start of the Great War. If you visit any Soviet memorial, also the ones that are located in Germany, you will always see the other dates of the Great War, 1941, 1945. You will never ever see 1939. The war didn't exist before 1941 in Soviet propaganda. As for the war against Germany, it was named a liberation war, the Great Patriotic War. No matter that this war was simultaneously used to put puppet Soviet governments in a list of European countries including liberated Poland. And any attempts to leave the Soviet sphere of influence in the future were stopped by the USSR, often by military invasion like it happened to Hungary and Czechoslovakia. The secret protocol that was a part of Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, which divided Europe into spheres of influence between Germany and Soviets, was also never public. In 1948, Stalin published a book, Falsifiers of History, where he admitted that the Soviet Union refused to sign any pact with Hitler's claim to share in a division of the world. But that was simply a lie, as such signed documents existed in fact. As we all know, in 1989 the first facts about the existence of the signed secret protocol appeared, and a German version of the protocol was published. A few years later, shortly after the Soviet Union collapsed, the Soviet copy of the original document was published. The world found out that the pact between Nazi Germany and Soviet Union included the secret agreement to divide the world as well as Poland, and it was signed shortly before the invasion of Poland. The USSR is an accomplice in the invasion and division of Poland. And even if propaganda says that this was a decision forced by Hitler and the Soviet Union had to de facto divide Poland with him, that doesn't explain the invasion of Baltic states and Finland. The USSR was expansionist, and capturing other countries was something natural and normal during the existence of the USSR. And all this existed in parallel to the propaganda, peace to the world. Such cynicism. Today many Russians still say that the war started in 1941, and when they are reminded about the invasion of Poland, they still say that it was required to protect the USSR.
Мне кажется, что пакт Молотова и Риббентропа это была вынужденная акция со стороны советского правительства.
Same as the USSR propaganda, Russians say that their country is very peaceful, no matter that it is involved in a number of war conflicts in the past years.
В России никогда первой не наступала. Лично мое такое мнение.
As you can see, the propaganda affected not only the Soviet generation. Sometimes we can hear the same ideas from the new Russian generations. And the main reason is that Russia preserves many teasers of Soviet propaganda. Tons of secret Soviet documents about the crimes of the Soviet state remain secret and are not open to the public. Soviet society did not learn important lessons from the crimes of the Soviet regime. It never discussed it, it never recognized it, as it happened to German crimes in German society. The situation is becoming even worse with the rollback of democracy and installation of the new imperialist state in Russia. The same crimes are committed again with the same excuses.
При этом в наши планы не входит оккупация украинских территорий. Мы никому и ничего не собираемся навязывать силой. И мы это поддержали. Повторю, просто не могли поступить иначе. Сегодняшние события связаны не с желанием ущемить интересы Украины и украинского народа. Они связаны с защитой самой России от тех, кто взял Украину в заложники и пытается использовать ее против нашей страны и ее народа.
Of course, if the situation changes, if Russian society learns a belated lesson, then future generations will be ashamed of these historical events. But whether they will learn the lesson is still a big question. If the future is determined by the same people who are the creators of lies, then there is no point in dreaming about any changes in Russian society. There is one more problem. Germany often avoids discussions about the crimes committed by the Soviets. In the psychology of German society, it is difficult to accept the fact that the liberators from the Nazi system are also representatives of evil who committed a number of crimes before and after the war. Therefore, Germans are very sensitive to the fact that Polish war museums consider it normal when it comes to the crimes of the World War II to hang flags with a swastika and a hammer and sickle almost side by side. Both Germans and Russians say that direct comparisons of the two dictatorships, Nazi and Soviet, are destructive and incorrect. One Russian historian in 2019 said, "There is no need to exaggerate the national imperial tendencies in Russia. Officials can say whatever they want. What is written in school books is much more important, and there it is clearly written that the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact opened the way for the occupation of Poland by Germany. Nobody in Russia is silent about this." Just 4 years passed, and in 2023 a new history school book in Russia was published, and it says nothing about the secret protocol that was a part of Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Annexation of the Baltic states by the USSR is named in these books as joining in the USSR. Of course, with this version of history, young Russians don't understand why there is a museum of occupation in Vilnius, Lithuania. Because they are never told it was an occupation. In the same way, they agree that Ukraine never existed before 1991, because they don't know that independent Ukraine existed in 1918-1921, and it was captured by Soviets.
О пакте Молотова не слышал?
Не, не слышал.
Ни в коем случае Советский Союз никогда не был на стороне нацистской Германии, потому что мы все за мир, за дружбу и за единство наций.
Russian society in 2023 says that Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact wasn't the way for the occupation, it was a way of defense.
Русские люди не могут с нацистами дружить. Договор мирный был заключен только ради того, чтобы продлить какое-то мирное время для себя.
Will the world learn from such rapid changes? Or maybe it's not a change at all, maybe it's always been like this and we just didn't notice it or didn't want to notice it? Please don't forget to support our channel, share this video and like it, subscribe to the channel to see new videos in the future.